I did not have sexual relations with
And I
that
realize that this is something he
Lewinsky.
isn't
We're not going to be able to solve our problems if we get distracted by sideshows and carnival barkers.
One Republican, one Democrat, and you discuss the issues that matter in today's local, state, national, and global politics. Hosted by Steve Hickson with co-hosts John Stanberry and Franklin Chansey. This is Backfirea.
Hey, good morning, Cleveland. Welcome to another edition of Backfire with John Stanberry, Franklin Chansey, myself, and my chief engineer, Daniel Brown. Good morning, everybody. Steve Hickson here. Well, it's been an interesting week. I've been gone a lot, so.
That's made it interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't been watching any news.
Made it awfully quiet around Cleveland.
Keeping up with anything. Anyway, the county's increased Fort Hill's budget. What's the deal with Fort Hill?
Well, it's a divided cemetery. The older part, nobody really knows who owns it, and so the city basically assumes ownership. And I think they can prove ownership of part of it, and part of it they can't. So for years, they've maintained it. The rest of it, the bulk of the lower end of it, is owned by Joe V. Williams, and it's supposed to be in a perpetual care situation. So when you bought a plot, part of your money was supposed to be put into a fund, and that fund is supposed to perpetually pay to mow and take care of it.
But somehow the money's not there or not enough.
You know, I don't know that anybody knows where the money is or how much is there.
It just consistently doesn't get done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. It doesn't get done. To be honest, and Franklin might be able to speak, I know the district attorney has periodically taken Joe V. to court on a pretty regular basis. And he'll do okay for a while, and then it'll get bad, and the DA will have to come back in and take him back to court. But I don't know that anybody has actually looked at the funds. Do you, Franklin? You know, has anybody said, show us where the perpetual care...
How much is there?
Right.
I don't know the answer to that. It's a good question.
And I'm not sure you can unless he's in complete default. You know, you can't just demand, the government can't demand things from people without due cause. And so I don't know where that is in the legal loop.
Let's just say it's a repeating problem every time the grass starts growing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. And it looks like, you know, at one time somebody started that graveyard. And who was it?
Yeah, but see,
well,
that's
he owns
the old.
It, though, that portion.
Yeah,
there's no question
about the part he owns. The other part we're not sure about, and the city assumes ownership of the older part, and they maintain it.
Well, if we could see how much he's got put back and perpetually to take care of it with, could that be taken from him?
Well, I mean, I'm sure you can
over.
do a lot of things, but it's not as simple probably as it seems. And if there's no money in it, and let's say you take it away from him, and there is no money, you may have action against him for that. But if you don't,
but moving forward, it's going to be yours.
Where are you going to get the money to take care of it?
You'll have to budget for it at that point.
And I could tell you, having in the 90s, they asked for civic clubs to volunteer to take over a section. And at the time, I was president of the JCs, and we took over one of the sections. That is incredibly difficult to mow.
Because of all the heads.
Oh my gosh, you've got to weed eat about half of it. You know, you can push mow bits and pieces, but you're dragging those mowers in and out of stuff. And I will tell you, at the time, I had actually left. We had a crew up there working, and it's hard work. And I left to go get some water for everybody. Well, when I came back, one of the guys said, hey, a family member came by. Now, the section we had some pretty prominent families in Cleveland in it. They said a family member had come by and cussed them out for not taking better care of his daddy's grave. So we're out there volunteering our time to take care of a section of the cemetery that we have no connection to outside of, you know, trying to help the community, and we get cussed out for not taking better care of his daddy's grave.
I guess the family members are basically having to take care of their...
Well, I've been up and mowed ours, and you know, matter of fact, this past week, it hit on Facebook in the history. There's a history posting that Jeff Pettit does a really great job with, and they somebody posted a bunch of pictures of how bad it had grown up, and Granddad and Dad's grave was one of the graves they posted, and you know, I felt bad because usually I try to go up there and check because, as Franklin said, and I posted this. This is what's hard about it. Sometimes it'll be mowed for a while and then it won't. And so unless you're going up there every week and checking, just like this, it got past me and it's too high. But the last time I mowed it, I had to weed eat it, rake it off, mow it, rake it off again, and mow it again before I could get it looking halfway decent. It was literally, hey, I could have baled it if I'd had a baler up there.
I'd put mulch out or something.
Well, I mean, but the point here is you paid for perpetual care. And this is the same, Franklin may know more about this, but the other two cemeteries that were privately held, the memorial cemeteries, both of them got into this problem, didn't they? The memorial care money had not been properly.
Yeah, I mean, there are rules. You have to deposit this funds into it when you sell a new
Kind of like
grave. You have to take
property.
a portion of that and put it in the property to produce income to maintain it. It's a requirement.
It's not like a rental property because a rental property is not governed. This is
There's no
governed by-
evictions in this
There are specific laws governing this.
Well, the laws aren't being kept then, are they?
Well, the problem is the enforcement mechanisms on it are maybe not stringent enough, and that's maybe something that the legislature.
Well,
might
the other
take a look
problem
at.
is, let's say that you come in and you get the guy and you say, okay, the money's gone. What do? You still have a cemetery sitting there that needs to be maintained.
Well, he would have liable for
But if they
spending
don't
the
have
money.
any, if they walk away from it, I think
Well-
one of the problems in the memorial cases was the argument over who actually owned it and whether they had anything, and they were willing to walk away from it.
Well, let me ask you this. If they went through this process and realized that the money was not there, that the owner had taken the money, first of all, there ought to be laws where he would be locked up, something done, fined, whatever, and then at least people would know there's no money to take care of it, and then we have to get to the bottom of it. And somehow it's got to be maintained.
That's how it'll end up. It'll end up there's no money to maintain it, and if you want to take care of your dad's grave,
Well,
you're going to have to go
there's-
take care of it.
Well, could they start up another perpetual fund now from the people that have
Well, there aren't
families
that
there on a volunteer
As
basis?
I understand it, there aren't that many. You mean from donations? Is that what you mean?
You'd have to virtually. You just
that's
have to
possible, I
hope
guess.
that people donated enough money.
Well, people could donate money every year to their loved ones that are
Now,
there.
supposedly there's 2 or something more acres, Joe. I think I read this past weekend claim there are two more acres that could be sold that are open. And there's plots, I'm sure, interspersed through it that are open. But the vast majority of that is relatively complete.
And quite honestly, who wants to go and make that investment now, given what's happened with the previous one?
Well, plus, let's say if you look at the total, let's say there's 20% more left. You're going to buy an 80% liability for a 20% profit margin. You can't do that. It's just too overwhelming.
Well, what's your solution, John?
Well, I think the DA will get involved. This has gone back for years and years and years in prosecution, and so I think Joe V will be drugged back in court again.
Well, has anybody ever gotten to the bottom of the fund? How much is actually left?
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Well, we ought to get to the bottom of this.
And Joe V claims I can't get people to work. It's hard to hard to mow, and it is hard to mow. But that doesn't alleviate him from his liability or his responsibility.
We're getting a call. Go ahead, caller. You're live.
Hey, good morning. I'm enjoying listening to you, gentlemen.
Good.
It's my understanding that I don't know the name right now. The other two cemeteries on the north end and the south end owned by the same people organization. And as I recall reading in the paper, they had taken so much money out of their perpetual funds, and they was made to put the money back in. And maybe you gentlemen have read that. And another thing, and I'll get off of here. I was surprised that Bradley County is going to yields $250,000 to Cleveland State. And thanks for taking my call.
Oh.
Y'all have a great day.
Hey, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you see anything right or wrong about the $250,000 for Cleveland State?
Well, I think Mrs. Peak wrote a good article. It was in the Banner, and talking about the other needs that the county had and the responsibility they had to the county. And they say there's nothing in the budget, but then they can find money for that. Okay. Did you read that paper that that article that or letter that she had written to the Banner?
Who is that?
Charlotte Peak Jones.
Charlotte Peak. Okay. And she was pointing out everything, and I don't have it in front of me now. And if I'd have known, I would have had it so I could quote that. But she gave many reasons that she was against it. However, I think in the end it was unanimous. And I guess if you're there and it's going to go through, you just might as well vote for it. But now the city going to follow in their footsteps? I don't think they should necessarily. Okay, just because the county did it, the city doesn't have to do it.
Well,
I didn't mean to get off the subject there, brother.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Thank you.
We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit, so I'll save that.
Well, I actually asked Dr. Seymour, president of Cleveland State, to come in and to talk to us a little bit about that. There's a lot to unpack with it, and I think we'll get to it maybe the second half of the show.
The mayor's race had a big debate. There seems to be some things going on there. Y'all have anything to say?
Well, the Republican Party sponsored the debate, so...
you were there, right?
Yes.
How'd you think it went?
I thought, from an event standpoint, I thought it went really well. I'm probably not going to get into saying who won, who lost, but...
I didn't ask that question.
Well, I don't know how to answer how it went. It went fine. It went smooth. We had no bumps. It started. It ran. It concluded.
Could you tell us, from having been there, John, which issues, if any, did the candidates have the most disagreements about, irrespective of what you think about the issue?
There was a lot of agreement on a lot of issues. I think
that was my guess going in, but
there was actually a good bit of agreement. A lot of this, I think, will come down to tone and style and personality. Kevin was Kevin. He was knowledgeable and happy and pleasant. Coach Shriver was a little more aggressive, not bad or anything, but he feels like we need a little change, and he was fairly strong in putting that forward.
Well, he made the comment that if Brooks was doing such a good job in Nashville, why is he coming home?
Well, I will say this, though. I found a little discrepancy there.
You're reading a quote there, aren't you, out of that article?
That's right.
He also criticized for staying so long and said we need term limits. And so I was a little confused. Well, which is it? Should he have stayed or should he have come home? Kevin replied that he term limited himself and came home, and that's correct.
I just didn't understand that argument.
And Coach Shriver is hitting on the idea that, he's not a career politician, and he drove that home a lot. I think Kevin batted back that, look, I came home because I didn't want to be a career politician, and that I have it's a part-time job, and I work for the Church of God.
Then they got into issue over Father's Day.
That was a little bit of a jab. I actually didn't hear it. Somebody had to repeat it to me.
Oh, Lordy. On the comment on Father's Day, it was, let me see if I can find his Shriver.
Coach Shriver had said that
he'd stayed with his family on Father's Day. He'd come to Chattanooga
to eat.
And I think he asked Brooks what he did. And Brooks said, well, I stayed here in
Cleveland.
Stayed here
in my money stayed here in Cleveland.
I thought that was kind of a funny one.
But now, it was overall, it was not a contentious debate. Both of them.
They said that they got into talking about being 10 to 15 years behind on infrastructure.
They both stressed that we needed more concentration and more focus on infrastructure. So there was a.
What was the part about Shriver said we lost $15 million because the good old boys would not set up?
You know what? I don't know what he was. I heard that and didn't actually know
what he was talking about.
I didn't understand what that was a reference to.
I think that might be about that intersection down there at 20th and 25th Street and Ocoee.
It may be, but I didn't understand what that reference was, to be honest.
Either. Oh, anyway.
I leaned over and asked a few people around, and I didn't find anybody that understood what that reference is.
All right.
You have to be careful. Sometimes you try to refer to something without directly calling it, and you have to be careful that, A, you're not over-aggressive in calling it, and that's why you try to kind of make it a little bit more veiled. But if you make it too veiled, people may not follow what was actually intended.
All right. We're going to be talking about Cleveland State and so forth the second half, but I want to ask y'all a real hard question right now, and I want opinions. And either one of you can go first. Take your pick. What would you do to fix DACA if you were in charge?
I'll let John go first.
Well, I mean, I'm one of these sticklers for the actual law, and DACA is an illegal program, and that's Obama, I think, was on record 50-something times saying he couldn't do that because of the law that it required Congress. Then he turned around and did it anyway, and I've said this before. I'm very concerned about the fact that we're destroying the rule of law because he said it couldn't be done, then he did it. Then Trump comes in and says, I agree, it was unconstitutional, and I'm going to undo it. And then the very courts who said it couldn't be done that way then told Trump he couldn't undo it. At the same time, they're telling him he can't do other things. And now you've got Chuck Schumer, when Republicans are saying, we're going to fix this, here's 2 or 3 fixes. Chuck Schumer went on the record yesterday as saying they would not work with them to do any legislative fix. They want the president to do it by the stroke of a pen. If you move away from this whole issue, Republicans and Democrats over the years have been concerned about the growth of executive power in the executive branch. And so I see them playing pretty fast and loose with, we're against the growth of executive power unless, of course, we can use it as a wedge issue and blame it all on Trump, which is what they're doing, right? It's what Chuck Schumer did yesterday. And even Democrats said that they felt that was a huge mistake on Schumer's part.
All right, Franklin, your turn.
Presidents for at least the last 20 years have been saying that we need to do something about this up until President Trump.
But they haven't done anything.
There is a majority in both houses of Congress who would support fixing the DACA issue. It makes good economic sense for the country to fix the DACA issue.
I think we're ready.
I don't disagree with this.
Now, understand, we're not talking about the overall immigration issue. We're only talking about DACA, which is the Dreamers, these kids who were largely brought here as small children by their parents.
You don't think the whole program is part of it?
I think that's part of the problem. DACA is easy to fix. It's not hard.
That's the ones that were brought here illegally.
Well, let me ask you a question.
And let me say this. I don't really understand why they don't just go ahead and fix that, get that off the table, and then concentrate on the other issues.
Let me ask you 2 questions, Franklin. The kids, your side of the aisle basically is saying that these kids that are caught at the border should be released.
No, we're not talking about those kids right now.
No,
That's not DACA.
Now, wait a minute. I want to get to that. That's what I'm trying to ask you. If you have a child under 16 at the border and you release them, are they not a future DACA recipient?
Not
Yes,
because because they all had to register under the Obama plan. So those people already identified.
But they will. Your side will use the same argument. They'll go, "This child came with no offense of their own," and that's one of the problems. If you don't fix this border issue, all you're doing is creating more future DACA recipients. And as of now,
when we talk about DACA now, though, we're talking about people who are already here and who are identified.
All right, then will you go on the record as saying your side of the aisle in 2 years, 5 years won't take all of these children that you want released at the border and say they're now deserving of the
First
same
of all,
DACA recipient
I didn't say anything about
status.
releasing them at the border.
Well, your side did, and Chuck Schumer is on the record as saying he will not participate in any legislative fix.
I want to hear what Franklin, how he's going to fix it.
Well, DACA is just an easy fix. It's just
Okay.
not hard.
Tell me what.
All you got to do is bring it up for a vote. That's all it's
Well,
required.
what's your fix?
What are we
Amnesty?
voting on? Yeah, what are we voting on?
The plan that I saw gave them a 10 or 12 year process to not break any laws, pay your taxes. You were not eligible for certain public benefits during that 10-year period of time, and at the end of it, depending on which version you looked at, you either got a resident card, a permanent resident
Which
card,
was the Obama version,
or you could apply for citizenship.
which was the Trump version.
Okay.
And the
But-
Obama version
but
was
you don't-
800,000. The Trump was 1.8 million.
You don't have to link that to anything else because there are majorities in Congress that would vote for that.
Except
If you
your
bring it up
side
for a
pulled
vote.
the rug out from
No, that's not
under
what
the
happened.
president when he actually offered a more generous plan than Obama had originally requested.
That is factually incorrect.
Did Obama offer
what I saw.
1.8 billion or 800,000?
I don't remember the number.
It was
John, but that's-
800,000.
But I do
And
know,
did he
but
offer
I do know-
citizenship?
But I do know that Trump was offered over $25 billion for his wall.
It won't.
If he
That won't
passed
even
that,
begin
and he
to pay
walked
for
away
the
from
wall.
it.
And the real insulting thing about the
Okay.
wall is Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi in 2007 voted to authorize the wall and voted that they should pay for it and never did. And now they claim they're
As
against
I
it.
said, it's an easy fix. It just requires
Well,
bringing up
you
for
have to
vote.
talk to Chuck Schumer, who just yesterday said we will not participate in any fix at all.
What he
That's
said
his
was,
words.
if you're going to link it to this
No,
other
he
issue.
didn't.
Yes, he did.
I'll be glad to read it
Well,
to
the
you, Franklin.
headline you just showed me says that.
I'll read it to you. Here's his exact words. He said, unacceptable additions have bogged down every piece of
Additions.
legislation.
There you go. It's the
Now,
linkage.
wait a minute. He's speaking in future tense. Unacceptable additions have bogged down every piece of legislation we've done. The Cruz presentation yesterday is expressly about this, has no additions whatsoever.
No, the Cruz bill has nothing to do with DACA.
It's fixing this thing at the border that you all have ginned up.
We're not talking about that issue today, John. That's not the question he was
Okay.
asking.
Yet.
Maybe he will ask us
He'll
that.
ask that
But
in
you're
about
mixing
1 minute.
apples and oranges now.
Well, I know that
Look,
President
we have a
Trump
guest.
offered the Democrats more than Obama had even originally said he wanted, and they walked away from him. Plain and
that's
Do
simple.
you think it's a political stunt?
Chuck Schumer's statement yesterday, he actually said, we don't want to fix it legislatively. We want to keep the focus on President Trump. They're not. Here's the worst of this. This whole issue on the border that we're looking at now started as a lie. Franklin's side, as usual, posted pictures of children in cages and said the Trump administration is doing this. That's what started this whole uproar right now. And then when we found out those pictures were from 2014 under the Obama administration, they just deleted their tweets
Those
and said,
kids
never
that you're
mind.
talking about there were not separated by their parents from the government.
Franklin, your side posted pictures and attributed them
No,
to Trump
one person
when they
posted
were,
that picture.
No,
One
they were
person.
reposted and
One
reposted and
person
reposted.
posted it. And the facts turned out to be
Sean
exactly what
King
I just
posted
said.
it.
Franklin, would you?
Linda Sassour posted it. All the news media's picked it up and posted it.
As I just said, those were not children separated from their parents.
All right. Today, what would you do to fix that problem?
It's not hard.
It's not.
It's not hard.
It's not hard.
No. You have
I agree.
you have two groups of people coming across the borders.
Okay.
You have the traditional group, which is the people who've come here for work typically, who frequently go back and forth across the border. And then you've got a second group, which are people largely coming not from Mexico, but from countries farther south, who are seeking asylum because of various reasons in those countries. There's a process in place. Nobody's saying you should release those people into the community. We're just saying, what is the theory, morally at least, between grabbing those small children and shipping them off to different places from their
Well, let me
parents?
ask you this.
Till you go through, there is a process there till you go through
Let me
it.
ask you this. If they were told that, if you come to America, the kids are going to be
That's
separated.
exactly what they're
No,
talking
wait a minute. If they told, turn around and go back, and you wouldn't lose your children, you think they'd do it? They might stay in Mexico, might. You think they'd stay there?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
You think we ought to try
I
that?
don't know. The people who are fleeing real persecution in some cases, would they turn around and go back?
What
I don't
is
know.
real
I
persecution?
don't know
Because
what
that's
real-
actually what started this problem. What is real persecution?
Well, in some cases it's the government. In some cases it's drug gangs.
There were
It's
actually,
all sorts of things.
Franklin, there were definitions of it. And it didn't include spousal abuse, and it didn't include crime. Because crime is a government problem that ought to be dealt with on a national level. And what happened was you had a court case and you had a ruling, actually I believe by the Bush administration, who then said we will take spousal abuse.
That's right.
And the problem is you saw the numbers skyrocket once you started doing that.
Okay.
So people who actually needed it, who were persecuted because of homosexuality or because they were Jewish or because they were Christian, those people who the program was actually designed to protect are now bogged down in a system with people that are actually using this. At the border, Franklin, what percentage of the people who claim to be persecuted have actually been found through the court system to be legitimate?
Oh, it's a smaller number.
It's less than 20%.
Yeah, that's
and
probably
did you know that over 80% of the children who are separated supposedly from family are not actually with their family? They're with some unattached adult. Jeff Sessions is talking about starting to use DNA testing at the border to determine whether they actually are the people's children they claim to be.
Okay.
You're also facilitating child slavery as well, because the runners and the cartels have found out how this works, and they're now using it.
Nobody, John, is suggesting that we release these people.
Actually, they are.
No, they're not.
Franklin, what do you do if you can't hold the Ninth Circuit Court has ruled that you can't hold the child? Because that's what we used to do. We held the entire family together while we adjudicated this. The Ninth Circuit Court, liberal circuit court, ruled that you couldn't do that. The children couldn't be held. So if the children can't be held and they're illegal, you have two choices. You immediately deport them, which we can't do under current law, or you have to release them into the community. So what's your option?
Well, if they have family resources available, they have to release them. They don't have to release them.
Franklin, these people that have been released, half of them are being released into non-family members' households, and a lot of the people they've released them to are actual illegal aliens who are in the country. This is a disaster in the making. You all created this.
We didn't create this, John. You just
this.
pointed out that the domestic violence component of this started under the Bush administration.
You're right.
Okay?
But
So
I gave the
this is
proper
part
credit
of the
to that.
problem. This we stuff.
Well, why don't we deal with this
We
week?
keep
Here's Occupy Wall Street with a diagram on how to kill an ICE agent. And then when it's brought up that is hate.
Yes,
by the way,
yes,
Twitter
John, and
Twitter has closed out conservative accounts. They didn't close this account out, Franklin. Tell me why that's acceptable from your
Why don't
side of
you
the
raise it
political
with
aisle.
them, John?
That's your side of the political aisle.
Who is my side?
Okay.
Who is Occupy Wall Street?
A bunch of socialists who vote for your candidates.
That was an interesting question on how to take care of DACA. Now, what would you do about the immigration problem?
But one of the things I was trying to get Franklin to understand, though, Steve, it doesn't matter what you do with this DACA. If you have the kids at the border who come in, the DACA guidelines are under age 16. They have to come in under 16, and they have to be under 31 to get the benefits. If you don't shut this down, for example, since I think April, do you know how many people have been let in under this? How many children have been separated?
How many?
2,000 in about 2 months. The numbers have skyrocketed at the border. So if you don't fix this, in 3 years or 5 years, you'll just have another 500,000 DACA kids, and I guarantee you that side of the political aisle will take those kids and go, well, I know they were after we fixed the original DACA, but it's not fair to deny them the same benefits we gave those kids. You have to stop the flow.
Let's come back to this in the last 10 minutes or so of the show, and let's move on to our guest here.
Well, we got to take a break.
Yeah, let's
Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Backfired with Steve Hickson. We'll be right back after this.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
And you're listening to WOOPLP, Cleveland, Tennessee. WOOP FM is a broadcasting service of the Traditional Music Resource Center, and we play America's original music.
Dr. Christopher Chase with Associates in Plastic Surgery now offers his patients the convenience of a Cleveland office at 2350 North Ocoee Street. Dr. Chase specializes for the ladies in breast augmentation, including lifts, reconstructions, and reductions. Also tummy tucks or mommy makeovers, and facial rejuvenation, including facelifts, eyelids, brows, nose, and he also offers Botox procedures. Check out Dr. Christopher Chase. He is certified by the American Board of Surgery, the American Board of Plastic Surgery. He's a member of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons and the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery. Check their website out at aprs.md. That's aprs.md. Call for your convenient appointment in Cleveland at 624-0021. 624-0021. 2350 North Ocoee. That's Dr. Christopher Chase.
Another SOS, and you're stressing, and that's the time to check in. Check in to cash, check in. When you have a cash emergency, check in. We understand the urgency. Check in to get your loans and more. You gotta check in with your checking to cash. Store. Walk in, call in, click in, go all in. Check in to cash in, check in to cash. Your one-stop money shop. Check into cash.
If you need a little green, Lending Frog is making deals. He'll lend you cash on any kind of wheels. Borrow just a little, or you can borrow big. Lending Frog is a new financial gig. It's hip to hop into cash. LendingFrog.com is making a splash. Dig it, take it. Dig it, take it.
We're here at the Trane Heating and Air Conditioning Testing Facility to see how unstoppable their products really are.
Inside this climate chamber, it's raining incredibly hard on this Trane AC unit. Clearly, it's hard to stop the train.
Ready for a heating and air unit that's been tested in the harshest environments possible? Stop thinking about the other guys and get a Trane. Call Mechanical Systems today to get your home on the road to comfort. 336-5739.
Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Attention, Cleveland area creditors. Are you tired of dealing with debtors that owe you money? I'm Jeff Renfro, and I've owned and operated Financial Recovery, a debt recovery specialist here in my hometown of Cleveland for 18 years. We're a licensed and bonded Tennessee collection agency working for a wide variety of creditors, from commercial, manufacturing, physicians, dentists, attorneys, small business owners, to individuals. Look, any kind of business dealing with billing, charge accounts, or even return checks. I know your past due accounts are not a top priority for you, but they would be to me. Let me try to make it easy for you to make a change in the way you've been handling your accounts. There's no contract and no cost to you in most cases, as our fee of only 30% can be added to the balance owed to you. So whether you have hundreds of accounts monthly and need help with your billing and collection, or you're just an individual and somebody owes you money, let me help you. Give me a call at 400-5376 and I'll come by and see you. That's 400-5376.
Financial Recovery, a licensed and bonded collection agency in Cleveland, Tennessee, 400-5376.
Yeah, you looking for something sweet? I know you are. Bring your little sweet self to the Village Bake Shop. Around since 1961, there ain't a baked good in the galaxy the Village Bake Shop can't whip up for you. So when you're ready to treat your mouth to a taste you won't soon forget, get over to the Village Bake Shop in the Village Green Town Center, or give them a call at 476-5179. You dig?
3, 2, 1, lift off. Woo! It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for Howard Thompson's Discount Fireworks Show. That's right, Howard Thompson's Discount Fireworks off Highway 64, just 3.5 miles from town on your left off Highway 64. They're going to have all kinds of stuff going on Wednesday, July the 4th. Howard always does his July 4th show on July 4th. That's right, Wednesday, July 4th. At dark, you will have a 1-hour fireworks show. Come on out early, though. Enjoy all the food vendors. And come out early and buy all your fireworks at a discounted price. Only from Howard Thompson, out off Highway 64. It's Discount Fireworks. They're going to have all kinds of entertainment. There will be information there from Randy Boyd. There'll be entertainment by a 2x2 quartet. Eric Watson will be there. Mountain Gas, Dan Howell. American Porta Toilets We'll also have a cool-off tent if you get hot. The Hope Truck Company, one of these sponsors. That's right. It's Howard Thompson's big, giant fireworks show. 1 hour long. Wednesday, July 4th. Don't miss it. Fro Daddy and Matador will be there. Woo-hoo! 3, 2, 1, lift off. Woo!
You're listening to Backfire with Steve Hickson on Whoop FM. Call 423-614-5553 to join in on the conversation. Now, back to Backfire.
And we are back. We're calm and casual. We've got a